Week 1 is in the books, and the animals run the zoo right now. The Lions beat the Chiefs by a singular point on a night that didn't see what we wanted to see, but gave us a couple of clues of the future. Welcome on in. We appreciate you guys being with us post-game. This is RGR. I'm Ryan. This is me going rogue with Dan Harms, my right-hand man, who is leaving the red light off tonight. No background color if you lose. That's the way it works, and I like that, Dan. Not our favorite outcome, but we're going to get into all the details that we saw. We're going to go through some of our notes. And you members, you have voted. I will find a way tomorrow to get my notes posted into the Discord. So if you want to see that, go join the Discord now. Even if you're a member and you haven't joined yet, that's how you'll get into it because I don't have anywhere else to post it. We're going to answer a couple of your questions tonight as well. But right now, the bottom line is Travis Kelce didn't play. We talked about thinking about that. Obviously, Chris Jones in the house. Couple of tale of two halves there. I have some notes about that and what it means going forward. But bottom line is Chiefs start with an L at home on the night they hung a banner. That kind of sucks. I'm a little salty about it. I know you guys are. Hit us with your comments. If you want a question asked, go ahead and throw a super chat in there and we will get to them. A lot of the Trey Jones talk, I'm sure, will come up as well.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure.
But Dan, we got to start with our pals because I think Daryl put it best. Tell me something good. Let's start that way. What was good that you saw tonight?
The Chiefs defense held up their end of the bargain, allowing only 14 points to the Detroit Lions, who were the fifth best offense in the NFL last year. They held up their end, all right? I think that they showed better than anybody expected them to, honestly. And when you only allow 14 points in a game like that, your offense got to pick you up. And that was the thing here. So really, there were a lot of good flashes on the defensive side. Like, I know you have to expect the Lions were going to find a way to run the ball at some point. That when you're missing your best player on defense and you're trying to piece it together with Matt Dickerson and some other players trying to play Tershawn Wharton and, I mean, even Coburn, who had some really good plays, they're piecing together the middle of their defense, and that's where they attack them the best. In the run game, they really just got after them in the third quarter and the fourth quarter there. So all around, I think the defense played a good game. They had a good game plan, and a lot of what we said was true. If you can stop them early in that run start, then you can force Goff to be a setback passer, and that's not the best for them. Like, you saw that. Their play action game was what really carved up the Chiefs and got some of those big plays. So there were definitely some good things on the defensive side, some good things on the offensive side too. But we'll get to that a little bit before too long.
Yeah, I think we'll have to. My notes are a little sparse. I had some connectivity issues during the first half. Second half, that cleared up and gets a little more detail. But one of the first things that I said was, hey, they came out firing. George got good pressure in the first drive. They blitzed Willie. They did a lot of things that we thought would help them be successful. And I thought for the most part, despite a 13 plays 14 that they allowed in that first scoring drive, I thought the defense held up in the first half pretty dang well. And there was a combination of guys coming. There's a combination of guys getting good individual efforts. I singled out FAU a couple of times. He and Georgia, I thought, were doing their jobs. Good interior, like you said, it was a rotation, but I thought they got good play out of a number of different dudes. So I can't really fault anybody. They played, I think, to their ability. Kudos to Mike Dana, who ended up getting to the quarterback. Good for him. But overall, the first half started okay, I thought. I didn't feel like it was getting gashed or anything like that. I know one drive looked bad, but if you just broke down the first half, would you be pretty satisfied with the defensive output?
To an extent. I mean, I think you start off a little tough, with the fourth down give up, which is hard. You don't expect teams to go for it inside their own 20-yard line, and then that's really what swung that in there. They really were able to get going after that. They did stop them on that third down to force what we thought was going to be a punt. So that after that, you got to find a way to get that going. But they did, again, only gave up the 7 points in the first half, 7 points in the second. So at the end of the day, when you're only letting a team score 7 points, the drive they got the fumble was more just on great McDuffie play. Otherwise, they probably score a touchdown there too. So that drive was a little tough to watch as well. But you find a way to get a turnover, and they didn't really do anything with it. The Lions, on the other hand, used their turnover and were able to generate a touchdown. immediately. So that was another one of those swings. So the first half was, I think it was probably obviously the best that they played in terms of defense and offense. In the second half, it was just the defense showing up and everyone else on the offense just not showing
Just searching. The glue wasn't there, and that's what I think Travis is, to tell you the truth. Thank you, Daryl. Appreciate you. Thank you, Knicks fan. Appreciate you. Tony with 3 significant drops. One directly leads to that interception that then goes for 6. That's the offset play of the game here, and I can't really blame Tony given how little he's been able to do in this preseason. I kind of blame not getting him out of the ball game. And I agree with Knicks fan. After a couple of drops, okay, you gotta give him a break. Justin Ross caught the only target he got, so kudos to him. I think Rasheed had a couple more obstacles. I probably would have pulled Tony out a little bit more. I agree with him. What would you have done?
Yeah, after you see, honestly, after the mesh play, I would have pulled him. First one, okay, that's just a concentration drop. The second one was, it looked like they were just in the wrong spots because, mesh is supposed to pass by each other, but I need to wait and see how they got off the ball because typically you don't see a quarterback throwing the football to a guy who's clearing the player. It's usually after or before, and they're able to go after, but it was right at the same time. So that felt like a timing issue to me. After that, I would have taken him off the field. That tells me you're not in the right spot. And then after that, he had no confidence. The ball was thrown behind Tony, but he barely, pretty much just gave up on the ball. Pretty much gave up on it. And that's
like that
problem.
It
the
definitely
effort
felt
was
like
not there.
Too. Yeah.
Even on the end around, it looked like he stopped halfway and then just was like, okay, I'm going to go down. Like I get he's going to get tackled anyway, but there wasn't a ton of huge effort there to generate, to try and power guys over as we've seen him do in the past. So after the first 2 drops, it felt like his energy level just dropped off.
I agree. It looked like frustration. He definitely looked like a guy that was super rusty. And we talk about knocking the rust off every time you come back from a delay, right? It is significant, and it does make a big difference. Now, Casey Rich had a good question. Thank you, Knicks fan. Appreciate your support, buddy. And Kadarius Toney, was he the difference in the game? He was certainly a difference. I don't know that I would call him the difference because you can probably spread that out a lot over this offensive unit. And honestly, Patrick can't escape all of it. Yeah. He had some magic. He used his legs to maybe the most efficient use of his legs we've seen in quite a while. But he also had a number of passes that were behind his targets, overthrew a number of targets. Like, this was game number 1 for Patrick Mahomes as well. And so I think you can kind of leave that across the entirety of the offense, except for maybe the interior 3 linemen.
Yeah, I think that. I mean, no, I was about to say Trey Smith did not have a good game. He got bullied by Aiden Hutchinson multiple times, and then everything after that, it was really just Creed and Tooney who had a fantastic game. But the running game also really wasn't going anywhere. The defense of the Lions did a great job of pretty much stopping them. There was no real explosive plays from the run game, which was something that I thought the Chiefs might be able to get after, and they couldn't. And obviously, Travis Kelce brings a little bit of a different feel to that. But when you don't have him on the field, teams are like, okay, if you're not going to run the ball here, we'll live with it. Like, you got Noah Gray and Blake Bell and Matt Bushman and 13 personnel. We're not really totally afraid of that. They did get a couple of big plays off them and a big penalty, which they didn't do anything with, which I was really frustrated with. But I mean, you live and die by an offense that was built to have Travis Kelce out there. I know people are saying, where are all the plays and stuff like that? Well, they got news 2 days ago that Travis Kelce wasn't going to play. Game plan was already in. They already had the game plan set. And as much as you'd like to think teams can go on without a player, it was week 1. Like, if this was week 4 or 5, okay,
then
Travis Kelce misses the game. Okay, you probably have a better feel for everybody. But Kadarius Toney misses the entire training camp, and Rashee Rice's first real NFL game action. There was a lot that did not go well. And Noah Gray, I think he played pretty well, given this, the having to be the guy essentially. Blake Bell caught a couple passes, so tight ends, I really can't put a bunch of blame on them. It just, everything kind of went well for the Lions in that respect, and hats off to them. They played a good game plan. They took advantage of the mistakes that that the Chiefs made and tried not to make the big mistake on their own. So it's tough, but at the end of the day, I think you just have to tip your hat to the Lions, who came in with far more energy. If we're being very honest, the entire game, the Lions felt like they were far more
They're
energetic.
up. Yes.
Yeah, like they were just, every time they made a play, boom, they're running after it. Like they're doing stuff like that. So it's, hopefully this is a wake up call, but it didn't seem like the weapons were ready for life without Travis Kelce, as we may have thought.
No, didn't handle that pressure. I think that they will, but didn't handle that pressure yet. Let me tell you if this is surprising. Jahmyr Gibbs got nearly as many carries as Pacheco. Clyde Edwards-Helaire had the best yards from scrimmage rushing the ball tonight on any team outside of the quarterback, right? Ran for 3.7. Montgomery ran for 3.5. He got 21 carries. That's the difference in philosophy here. Pacheco came back with only 2.9. Now, that was situational in my opinion. I think Pacheco made up for it in the screen game. I thought he looked good there. I thought he brought the energy. I mean, there's one guy on the offense that I'm never going to question energy, and that's Isaiah Pacheco. I thought that was perfectly fine. But to Daryl's point here, it is, you got to retire this formation. Blake Bell, like,
it's done.
It's got to be over unless you line him up and you make him look like he's confused and line him up under the guard and actually snap the ball to Patrick so he can throw the damn ball. This shit is over. It needs to be gone.
Done. Like the very first thing I saw it out there, I'm like, no, just because Kadarius Toney dropped the ball on mesh on 3rd and 2 does not mean you bring out the Blake Bell stuff on 3rd and 1. No, spread them out. Do it again. Get somebody else in there. Do that. You had two guys wide open. Okay.
It hurt. And I hope Andy's learned his lesson. I think he always feels like he can put a tweak on it. But now the only thing that can ever happen from this point forward in Blake Bell in the formation like that is a distraction. You've got to actually let the guy do what he needs to do. And for those of you that are a little offended by my language, I apologize. That felt good, but not real good. So tonight's show is brought to you by Saison DuPont, the real champagne of beers. I was planning to celebrate with this, but I'm going to drink it anyway. Daryl, appreciate you. Thanks, buddy. Tactics. Don't forget Sky Moore had Butterfingers too. Yeah, but I wouldn't call any of his actual drops.
Yeah.
Would you, Dan?
No, they weren't. Like he had to extend his body. Like he's not Mr. Elastic. He can only make his body go so far. Like both times he had to stretch out or had a ball behind him. All three of his targets. I mean, I don't even know if the third one was a target to him. It looked like it could have been to Rashee Rice, but they were in the wrong spot too. Maybe. I don't know. Somebody was in the wrong spot there, but they were all out of the way. So I don't really put a lot of that on Sky Moore. And I understand that people are frustrated about the receivers not playing well. And I still will defend my stance that this is the most talented group that they've had. They didn't look great tonight. Okay. Yeah. I'll take that one on the chin. I've talked them up a lot this offseason. No, for good reason. I'm going to still say it because I think they're going to get better. And honestly, when Travis Kelce comes back next week, they're probably going to look a lot better. And there's a reason for that. So it's not just, a copy and paste. One guy comes out and you do all that. You draft some of these players because you expect Travis Kelce to be on the field too. And that's part of the construction as well. Like, it's funny, the construction of the defense, I feel much better now about them going forward without a Chris Jones, if that's going to be, because I think that they showed they can withstand a little bit. We'll see how that continues, if maybe there are some weaknesses there that for this game will show. But I think that they did a pretty good job there and in coming in and being a little blitz heavy and getting tackling was kind of an issue again still, but you have some of that withstanding is week one shaking the rust off as well. But it's tough. Roster construction is built around a couple of guys, and sometimes you see the chinks in the armor when one of them has to step out.
It's a triangle of pillars, right? You had two of your legs chopped out from you. Actually, a 1-point loss to a team that is likely to win their division as well. I can probably live with that. But to Alex's point, he said this is why he wanted D-Hop, the veteran experience. I thought Richie put in some good plays as well, but even his veteran experience didn't completely pay off. I'm with you on the tackling. I counted 3 actual misses. I don't know if I have that number right. We're going to see what comes up tomorrow. And Alex, I'm with you. I think it would look very different if you had an experienced receiver like D-Hop there. It would have settled everyone else down as well. I think it did feel like a bunch of young dudes looking at each other like, okay, can we actually do this? Just us, without Daddy Trav out here, what's going to happen? You know what I mean?
But they also needed they needed it. I'll be very honest with you guys. They needed this game. Okay. They needed to see what it looked like. Okay. You don't know until you know. And guess what? Now they know. They know something's got to change, whether it's route construction, whether it's how you're using these players versus those players. Who's going to be impactful? MVS did what he does. He went out, he caught a couple bombs, and that's pretty much what he's good for. That's why I was like, hey, he might lead the Chiefs in receiving yards this year. It's still looking like that's a very good possibility for the wide receivers if he does. So it's tough.
The only problem is he led with 48 yards.
Yeah. See, that's not good. If when Travis is out there, he'll have probably a little bit more, maybe 60.
Yeah, I think you're probably actually right. Ben, thank you. The $2 Chuck, I appreciate you. Should we pass to Ross and Rice more than Tony and Moore? I thought Rice could have been in a better position a couple times too. Again, for a first outing for rookie, I thought he did a good job. He was was the second yardage guy? No, he was not. But he did have the touchdown, and he was 3 for 29. Like a 9.6 average on his reception. So good for him. I think he had to move it around a lot. I liked the one pass, the one target to Ross. I believe that was all he got. Yeah. But he was 1 for 1. He ran about 40% completion rate during the preseason. So 1 for 1 is perfect for Justin Ross. So good for him.
I'm saying. I'm just saying. I'm surprised he didn't get more play. I agree. Like if you're going to run out there with as much 11 personnel as they did, and they finally got to 12 and 13 in the second half, thank goodness, because they needed it. But they weren't able to do it, a lot of it. But they came out with a lot of 11 personnel. If you're having trouble with drops, throw a couple up on them and see what we said. This is why I said don't let Andy Reid and anybody else fool you about contested catches. Okay, don't let anybody fool you, because they will not do it and they don't care. All right, they don't care.
7 active wide receivers tonight. Use them all. Should have got a little bit more there. Thank you, Ben. Appreciate you. Whiskey Bravo, appreciate the 5 spot. Overreaction. Should Casey start MVS, Watson, and Ross versus Jacksonville? All the others had negative expected catch adjusted percentages. I don't necessarily agree with that metric in particular. I think it plays into a little bit more reactionary than anything. Speaking of your overreaction. But MVS and Watson, absolutely.
Yeah,
Ross,
for sure.
I could live with that. Walk him out. Play some triangle games, run bunch of, and I'd like to see what they want to come at him with in Jacksonville. So I like the concept, Whiskey. Dan does too. Love it.
Yeah, it wasn't really more of like a pats off to me. You just like ended your side, and then I thought you were going to keep going. So
I'm not at the top of my game tonight. I'm admitting it. Andrew, Nick Bolton had himself a day. Yes, he did. And you remember, I told you guys how excited I was about the blitzing, right? Well, Nick certainly showed it. David Montgomery ain't going to forget it anytime soon, right?
No.
That was a nice little maneuver.
I'll be honest, though. He let Sam Laporta block him for a touchdown. I'll tell you guys right now. Sam Laporta is one of the worst blocking tight ends in the NFL right now. Yes, he's a rookie, but he's a move tight end. He let him block him. Okay? And it was a good block, too. It wasn't just like Nick Bolton was out of position. He actually blocked him.
Yeah.
Okay?
Well, everybody learns. Laporta's had a camp, too. Maybe he's improved.
We watched the same game, Ryan. We watched the same game. He blew up a guy who probably weighs the same, but he's stockier in David Montgomery, who was in good position. And Nick Bolton's coming downhill, and Sam Laporta moved him out of the way. I was very frustrated with that. And outside of everything else, he had a good game. Yes, he was one of the reasons that they forced the Lions to punt. So he outside of that, yes, I do think he had a good game. The linebackers, I think that they really kind of attacked the safeties earlier in the game, not necessarily the linebackers. They were going after Reed and I think Cook a little bit, trying to find the middle of the field. And obviously when you're playing zone, it's hard to tell exactly whose responsibility is where. But that's something that I noticed early. And that was one of the big things that we talked about, is that if you can stop their run game, you can stop them attacking over with play action over the middle of the field. Because they're going to try to stretch you guys horizontally and open up the middle of the field. That's what stretching the horizontally does. That's what they do very well, and that's what Jared Goff is good at. So that was a little tough to watch at times, but again, they came in allowing 14 points on defense. They really did a good job with a lot of these drives to give the ball back to Patrick Mahomes. I'll give a lot of credit to Dan Campbell. He understood. I think that his defense was playing extremely well. That's why he punted the ball back, because he honestly wasn't afraid. And that's something that I know that he got a lot of crap for some of the punts, and I agree with the decisions he probably should have gone for them a couple of different times here and there. But he saw the way his defense was playing. He saw the way the Chiefs wide receivers were playing, and he was like, look, we can stop the run. They can't generate play action passes. Like, there's no real danger in the second half here from the Chiefs. Like, they had 2 field goals. Other than that, it's hats off, man. You give credit where it's due.
It was not as formidable as you want it to be. I'm completely with you. It was not as formidable as you want it to be. I'm going to run some stats here, but I got to plug in a laptop. So, Jake, I appreciate you for the 5 spot. Why did they play Tony if he hadn't been really practicing? And they could have given Ross those snaps, considering he had chemistry with Mahomes. He did, but they do line up and do different things. Justin Ross cannot run a complete route tree as Kadarius Toney can. It is not a 1-for-1 replacement.
No.
But I was impressed. I saw what I was hoping to see from Rashee Rice. I saw some of the sit-down routes. That one that he had a nice, I think it was like a 16-yarder. It was because he sat in the middle of the field where he's supposed to be, like Juju did, running opposite what Travis would normally do were he out there. And then he actually reacted to the quarterback. And I'm actually really impressed with the chemistry that Rashee Rice showed with Mahomes tonight.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think that, for his first time, Brian's out. For his first time, he did a really good job of just like moving around, getting himself involved in the offense. And I think learning. And this was a big step for learning, because the Lions came out, they played a lot more zone than I think the Chiefs were expecting, which threw them off a little bit too. And then you saw some of the mesh concepts coming around where they had guys open on some of those zone plays and they just couldn't execute. So they did adjust to what the Lions were doing. It just, you had drops. Like, you have the guys making the plays and actually being in position, and then you have a miss execution problem. So I do think that they did a good job adjusting and trying to find out what was working. When you find it, you have to be able to execute. And that was the big difference between winning and losing in this game. Was down in the stretch, the Lions executed and that touchdown, and the Chiefs were not able to execute. And that's just how it works. It's just the way it goes.
And hey, kudos to the Lions. They came out and they played hard. I thought they did a pretty good job on Hutchinson. I think Juwan Taylor earned his money tonight. I don't care about all the broadcast BS about where he's lining up. If the refs ain't calling it, then he's not lined up wrong. It's pretty damn straight.
Honestly, here's the big thing. They want to make a big deal about that. But if the coaches who are literally watching every single play and the players who are watching every single play don't go to the refs and say, hey, can you watch him doing this? Because this is literally their prerogative. It's their job to do this. Is when you think that someone's going off the snap or whatnot, if he's doing something illegal, you just let the refs know. You say, hey, can you watch this? We hear when the guys are mic'd up, them bring this up to sometimes say, hey, can you watch him doing this? Hey, can you watch him doing that? Coaches didn't say anything about it. The refs never said anything about it, and the players didn't. So he's fine. Period.
Yeah.
End of story.
I am with you there. Let's look at this next question, because Warrior, I appreciate you. I don't think it's that Andy hates Pacheco. Let me make sure that I put this here so we can all see it. And I may have to zoom it in to tell you the truth, but I'm going to give you guys my best right here, because when we take a look at touches, in terms of rushing, Pacheco actually got more carries.
Yeah.
He got 8 carries to CEH's 6. Now, I think he got targeted more as well. Let me double check
for
that.
Sure. I think he got 3 or 4 targets. I think, Clyde only got 1.
He was 4 for 4. Clyde only got 1 target. So I know it felt like it, and Clyde had more, I think, plays that were purely Clyde effort, where he was in contact and in a scrum, and he was still driving. Honestly, it reminded me a little bit of his last year at LSU, right, where he was moving a pile.
I'd like to bring up a small point that kind of pissed me off. We saw the scrums for Clyde get whistled dead very early when you saw him start pushing. And then on the last drive of the Lions, they were just letting them push. And that really kind of bothered me, okay? I don't like blaming Russ for stuff, but that was like, really? Really? You're going to let them push for another 2 yards there? They're stopped. You called them, the Chiefs, down many times on this. So I was just got to get that off my chest.
Well done. Well done. I like it. You have a very solid point. Thank you, Warrior. And thank you, Jake from 4. Appreciate you. Cody, thank you. Appreciate the 2 spot. Rice and Moore, opposite impact spectrum right now. TDs. Fair enough. I'm a little surprised that Moore didn't have more impact. Kudos to Rice. Again, I love the role that they're carving out for him. I do think they see him as a Juju replacement, and I love that. And man, that it was not the touchdown. It was a couple of other plays that really showed me that he's in sync with Mahomes way faster than anybody else has gotten in sync with Mahomes. So I feel really good about where this is going. And if Trav is back, I think that's going to set us up.
Yeah.
Mr. Gooch is back. Everybody give Brian Gooch a hand.
What up, Gooch?
An old friend around here. Hand seemed like is just for decoration tonight.
Any good, right? Those gloves, right? They look good,
right?
They're not just for show, right? They're supposed to be able to help you catch the ball, right? Like that's what they're for.
They're pretty though. I mean, oh, good Lord, Chris, thank you, sir.
Chris.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
And Chris has a point here.
Much.
Chiefs lost on a fake punt and a drop pass for a pick 6 by Tony. Not a place to freak out about. Chris, I appreciate the support very much so. And you are absolutely right. Yes. We don't need to flip out. We don't need to flip out. The fact that this was a 1-point loss is frustrating, but your defensive best player is gone. Your second best offensive player is gone. And yet you kept it in there with a team that a lot of national talking heads, not that I believe them, but they're pushing for the Lions to be a Super Bowl possibility, that they feel that they can actually move through a weaker NFC and be successful in the playoffs. So, Chris, you have a really good point. Kudos to them for making those plays. And for if you're one of those people that was like, Ryan, you're being dumb about Brian Branch, I will tell you, yes, he made a giant play, but as I said, he made it as a safety playing in space, not as a man nickel corner. So let's be real about that. That's exactly what he did at Alabama, and I hope that he's okay. It looked like cramps to me, though. I didn't hear another update.
That's all they said, and he came back in later. So yeah, he was fine. The Lions, they played pretty good fundamental football. Like they played what they play, and they played it well. I think that they really did a good job mitigating a lot of huge mistakes. Obviously, they had some drops as well. The fumble, really more caused by a really good tackle from McDuffie, getting underneath the receiver and popping that ball out. There was also, the Sky Moore drop over the middle was punched out by a guy over his shoulder. He had it. It was punched out. So there's just a lot of stuff that happens in week ones. And I will just say for the record, this is not the worst loss. Last year, the Chiefs lost to the Colts with Chris Jones and Travis Kelce on the field. Let us not forget. So there's still lots of time. There's lots of season left to play, and just a nice little peace of mind from Chris, letting us all not to freak out. Appreciate it, Chris, very much.
Yes. And it looks like I was very slow, and my apologies. You even sent a second one, and thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
We'll monitor right now. Hopefully you're still on with us. We're not even 30 minutes in, folks. For us, we're doing pretty quick. But we'll answer everything else that you want to ask tonight, Chris, and very much appreciate you. Cheers. Glad you're here.
Absolutely.
Peter, time to go get Mike Evans. Don't wait. Thanks for the $2. I appreciate it. That it's just trade value. I mean, we all know that he's last man standing in a town that is crumbling, right? But they're going to milk it for everything they can. They're going to demand a first round pick. They're never going to get that, but they're going to demand it, and it's going to be a conversation all the way through the trade deadline, I think.
I don't think the Chiefs will be trading for a wide receiver. Okay. I don't. Yeah. I think what you might end up seeing is some practices devoted to the jugs machine. Hey guys, why don't you spend 2 hours, go on the jug machine? I don't want to see your faces until you're done. Something like that. Just, it's not going to be a fun prep week for the Chiefs next week, but hopefully, again, like I said, that this game does a little bit of a wake up call, that they figure out what's going on, that they're not perfect, obviously. That was quite obvious. And there's some things that they still have to work on. And don't forget, Charles Menahue also didn't play in this game. Like, this is another thing. The defense played well without Charles Menahue. Like, that's a pretty good standing, in my opinion.
I'm with you. Thank you. Appreciate you guys. I just do want to mention, if you do want to get in the action next week, we do have this sponsor you guys might know about. Not going to do the whole read here for you tonight, just a little bonus. If you want in, you can get a great deal. Use our code RGR at DraftKings.com. Help those that help us. We very much appreciate it. So thank you, Peter, and obviously thank you, Chris. Gnarly's up next. So does the defensive performance help or hurt us getting Chris Jones' deal done ASAP? I'm really glad that you brought this up, because Terry mentioned it earlier. And Terry, I didn't forget you. I just wanted to wait till we got to the topic and dealt with the offense first. Because Terry believes they need to go get a veteran, a wide receiver, not a wife receiver. That's a whole different thing. And pay Chris Jones immediately. You and Gnarly seem to agree. Although I don't want to read into it, Gnarly. I think what this tells me, I feel pretty good. McDuffie's performance, like you said, Dan, I have it in my notes. That was play of the game in the first half, and I think it ended up being the play of the game for the Chiefs, right? Between that and the hodgepodge of defensive linemen that actually did some work on a unit that is generally considered a top 10 offensive line, that's pretty encouraging to me. This, in my opinion, did not help the immediacy of a Chris Jones deal. I think the team's like, hey, Chris, it would be great to have you, but we're doing okay.
Also, he's wanting a raise this year too. It's not just a raise over the next 2 years. He wants to be paid more than $19.5 million this year. So that's going to make his cap hit go up, which also means that you can't trade for anybody because you're not going to be able to pay for him. That makes a lot of problems if you're going to bring him in, and he's wanting a pay raise this year too. So again, they have the leverage in the Chris Jones situation, in my opinion. When you look at what they were able to do, yes, they didn't get a ton of sacks. They did get pressure in this game. Make no mistake. They got pressure from everywhere. You saw it from Karlaftis, from Felix. You saw it from the blitzes. You saw it a couple of times from Derek Nottie was able to get up there. So, there were some good one-on-one wins from these players. And honestly, I took a lot. I really wanted Felix to get home on that safety. He was so close. But did you see how he displaced Taylor Decker? He took him and he threw him backwards. Everybody. That was what I've been waiting to see. And then there was a couple times where he didn't disengage quickly enough, but play action makes that difficult. It's hard to tell. And then when you're doing play action and you have both arms up in the chest of this tackle, and you don't know it's play action, you're like, I'm stuck here in no man's land. So there were some nice flashes from the young defensive players in Kansas City. And again, I keep going back to that play where McDuffie's blitzing off the left-hand side and Gibbs has to get out of his way. And guess who's there? As Gibbs is trying to make Trent McDuffie miss. It's Kendrick Coburn in his face. All right. Yeah. He was right there for nothing. So there's some things here, I think.
There are.
So got to get some things, just got to get some kinks worked out. It's tough. It's tough to be optimistic.
I'm glad you found the same things, because I almost put literally the sentence that I typed: FAU rushing with power, but he's getting hung up. Yeah, he just can't release it sometimes. But I also one of my favorite ones, they got a delay penalty on it, but when they flipped them and you had FAU on the left hand side and George on the right, I thought that worked pretty well too as a change pace. Yeah. So I feel like they're already working as a duo, to tell you the truth. And I love that.
Absolutely. I'm just going to address this really quickly. Thank you for the super chat, Gnarly. Where is it? If I were to have told everybody the Lions scored 14 points on offense heading into this game, I would guarantee you before the game, you think the Chiefs win by a lot of points. True. They played well enough to win this game. That's just how I feel about it. So I understand the frustration losing to the Lions by 1 point. Don't think it was the defense's fault.
Yeah, I'm with you. I do believe this is on the offense if we had to pick one side of the scale. Tactics, thank you. Dromps, wonky A-line, Mahomes off, 2021 Chiefs again. Possibly, but it is just week 1. And the complication was he didn't even have Travis as the crutch that he could have used. I actually felt, other than some accuracy issues tonight, because he was running around so damn much, I felt like Mahomes otherwise played pretty well. I thought he made good decisions. I thought he used his legs very efficiently and didn't take risks of getting injured and that kind of thing. Because good Lord, if that happens, it's all washing downhill. But other than that, the accuracy is something that I think will improve drastically. Just as get that adrenaline the first time again. You'd hope that he's past that, but he is only 27 years old. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Thank you, Tactics.
Man. I mean, thanks, Tactics.
Marshall, Felix flashed. Jawan is fast. Can win without penalties. Yes. The alignment thing will be scrutinized by the refs. That's fine. But he certainly has the cadence down. He knows where Mahomes is going.
Yeah.
Even if he has to creep up a little bit more, I think he's going to be in pretty good shape, except the most elite of speed pass rushers. I feel really good about where he was. And I know he didn't get a whole lot of drive in the run game. I'm okay with that. Like, he's doing his main job, and that is to protect 15. I'm good with that.
Yeah, he got paid $20 million a year to protect Patrick Mahomes. And if you watch that game back, anytime he was really pass protecting against Aiden Hutchinson, he worked him. He worked him.
Yep.
And that was something you talked about,
it wasn't close
last night. No, Juwan Taylor got the better of that. Make no mistake about that. He absolutely outplayed Aiden Hutchinson in that regard. But everywhere else, Aiden was destroying whoever he played. He bottled up.
He beat up Trey.
He beat up Trey. He beat up Smith a couple times, put him on his butt multiple times, and then he was just everywhere. That's why he got drafted. He's very, very relentless. He's everywhere.
Matt, thank you for the $2. How is Tony not the last guy on the depth chart? He actually was until this last week, and then boom, he was healthy. They do see him as the number one. I don't know what this is. I don't know Kadarius. I don't know if he's got a fragile mentality or not. Certainly nerves played a part of this, I think.
Absolutely. The next game is going to be very telling. The Chiefs, typically, as we've seen, they want to go back to players when they have rough outings. And this was as rough as it's been for anybody, honestly, probably since the 2 seasons ago, where it seemed like every dropped pass turned into an interception for Patrick Mahomes. Like, there were so many of those. Remember, it was 2021. There's just everything seemed to turn into an interception off of a drop. That's how bad that this game was. Like, everything was going the wrong way, and those bounces were just not in their favor. So if they go back and the first passing play is to Kadarius Toney against the Jags next week, that tells you how they feel about his headspace and how they think he's progressed going into next week.
Yeah, that is a concerted effort to correct something.
Yes.
Be on the lookout for that. Appreciate you, Matthew. Nick, appreciate you as always, my friend. And by the way, give yourselves a hand. We broke the magic 1,500 in the chat mark. I always love it when we hit that. So welcome all. I know it's a tough loss, but glad you're here. If you're new to us, make sure you like, sub, and hit that bell right now, because we're going to have stuff for you all week long. I know it's a tough one, but we're going to break it down for you. We got some cool stuff coming, and we're always live on Monday nights. This Sunday night, given that we have a night off, I'll probably have something for you. I don't know if we'll do live because we have some dad duties to do, but Monday night Q&A at 7 on Central Time on Monday is going to be like clockwork, so be there. Nick is asking, I know I'm overreacting to everything right now, but what do you think Andy and Brett think after this game going forward? Another possible wide receiver trade? I really don't think so. I feel like two guys in particular made them feel like they can stabilize this. And that is Justin Watson and MVS. When they needed a big play, whether it was to draw a penalty or actually make the catch, they felt they can still push downtown with those guys. It was everybody underneath that I think dropped the ball. And I think that was a timing issue. I think it was a pressure issue. And I think it was just general jitters of having such a young crew at the position. So I don't think they're bailing and looking for a trade for a wide receiver. Do you, Dan?
I don't either. There was a lot of pressure put on these young players. Like, let's not forget the two guys that you said were steady were Watson and MVS. They've been around a little while. Even James, he was steady. He didn't play bad. There was nothing wrong there. I think they didn't use him enough. Honestly, when you start seeing some of the issues with Kadarius Toney, get Richie James out there more. He played more early, but he wasn't getting targets. just like Sky Moore. Like they made a concerted effort in the second half to get Sky targets, but there was a lot of pressure put on these young players, and that's not an excuse. They're professionals, okay, but it is a factor. Okay, that is absolutely a factor. But at the end of the day, the team's not going to accept it. They're absolutely not going to accept it. Mahomes is not going to accept it. You can acknowledge it as something that played a part. You just can't use it as well where, too much was expected of us. That's not how this works. Like, this is Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, who now have 2 Super Bowl rings, and they've been to 3 Super Bowls in the last 4 years. This kind of stuff is not going to fly. So course correction is coming soon. It's coming quick. And I would imagine if you see more of the stuff that we saw in this game from a specific player, you will start to see less of that player, period.
Thank you, Nick. Appreciate you, Kansas Nick. Here. Axolotl, is that how you say it? I'm not sure how that is. Is that like that ancient?
Yeah, I think it's an animal. It's that fish right there, right? I think.
Oh, I guess that would make sense. Sorry, I'm a little bit slow tonight on the avatars there, folks. It should have been better, but from here, although it was frustrating, the bright side is the defense only gave up 14 points. Couldn't agree with you more. Appreciate the support. We're going to speed up just a little bit, folks, because pressers are about to wrap, and I do have Locked On Chiefs to do live as well. You can see us over there later.
Tons of super chats, and you guys have been fantastic. Thank you so much, guys, for the support.
We very much appreciate it. We're going to get every last one of them. Thanks for the insight. Thank you for being here, New York. I appreciate you. I know it's especially late for you, so cheers.
Yeah.
The rest of us got to go to work tomorrow still, right? Okay. Dylan, thank you for the 5 spot. With wide receivers don't get any separation if they can catch on top of a little separation. What is what we're doing? What are they trying to do? I think it's just tighter windows are more acceptable this year.
I don't know for a fact that they weren't getting open, okay? I know we want to blame the wide receivers for not getting open, and there's probably good merit to that. I also think that we have to remember that the Lions played a lot of man coverage last year. And then they kind of shifted when Travis Kelce was out. They started playing more zone because Travis Kelce eats zone for breakfast. They were like, hey, we're going to play this against the Chiefs, younger receivers who maybe don't necessarily know exactly where they need to be in getting into these zones. So when I get into the tape, we'll see what it looks like, because there's going to be some times I'll bet right now that I'm going to see some players wide open. I know that Kadarius Toney early in the game was open for a touchdown that didn't get thrown because of pressure up front. There's going to be some of these back and forth things. So I'm very interested to see the wide receivers, because that's the big thing that I need to see is what happened there.
Agreed. We're going to go speed round, folks, because we are about to wrap the pressers, so I need to get over there. Kelsey's supposedly out next week. Who do you think will step up? Mahomes was the leading rusher with 47 yards. Can we just rely on him? No. They need to make a more concerted effort, and they will practice in a different fashion to do that. I think you are going to see a bounce back from Toney, more Sky Moore in the game plan, and I'm really intrigued to see. I think they will give more targets to Rashee Rice.
I agree.
Dan Gnarly's got one. Toney should have been more catch drills during the offseason instead of picking fights with heckling fans on Twitter. Yeah, Gnarly, I can't argue with you there. I don't think anybody can argue with that. Not even in the slightest. Mike Daniel, thank you. So on 3rd and 1, can we put Bolton at fullback, or do the Eagles way with Bell? Hey, would you do that? Would you pull somebody in from a different position and actually run like an eye set?
No, I wouldn't.
Okay.
I'm firmly against heavy formations on 3rd and 1 right now. I'm firmly against it. Completely against it, to be very honest with you. Spread the defense out. If you want to run the ball, spread them out, please.
I agree. Mike, thank you. KL, thank you. Appreciate you. Notes on the corners. I'll go into more detail over the next couple of days. I thought mostly McDuffie got beat when it was either a double or a pressure move to the inside where he had to change his leverage. So I think he's going to work on that. I thought he played very well overall. Honestly, I think he was probably the player of the game on the defensive side. I saw a lot of talking going on with Joshua Williams, but I didn't see anything that really stood out to me in the negative. So I got to go look at the film on that one. I don't know about you, Dan.
No, those guys, they attacked the middle of the field very well. So you didn't see them really challenge the outside. So that's something we just have to go wait and see.
Fair enough. Cody, defense looked versatile. Karlaftis in coverage on the snap. So was Noddy. Derek Noddy dropping, man. I'm telling you. Breed with the
Spags
knockdown
is going
line.
to pay for this at some point.
Yeah, you got to get some kind of pressure back on the line. How do you feel about the secondary overall? Little slow to start. I thought the first 2 drives were iffy, but I thought they settled really well.
They were beaten on, those play action stuff. And that's the main thing is it's really hard to defend against play action when a defense or an offense is very good at running the football. So it's tough.
95 for Mike Evans in third right now. Would you? For Mike Evans and a third for CJ? No, I would need at least a 1. I got to have a 1.
Yeah.
CJ's better at his position now than Mike is right now. Right?
Agreed. But not even close.
Player in his position.
Mike Evans is underrated, honestly. But yeah.
Daryl, thank you very much for 33 months. Appreciate you, buddy.
Thank you, Daryl.
What's all the overreaction that we're going to hear? That everybody's toast. Kadarius Toney can't play, and Mahomes is no longer the best quarterback in the league.
And the Chiefs are never going to make it to the playoffs this season. It's just not happening. Like, that's the big overreaction that we're going to see. They're in trouble. That's what we're going to hear.
Fair enough. Best and worst on offense and on defense. Best for me was McDuffie. The least contribution, I'm going to say, was Drew Tranquil. I was disappointed in the couple of snaps that I saw.
Yeah, he didn't play very much. This was a very heavy Leo Chanel game. I mean, by design, I guess, because of the run game. Sure. So, I get it.
Makes sense. Jackson, welcome to the membership. Appreciate
Jackson.
you. Go get signed up so you can get my notes tomorrow. RP, anyone still worth trading for? Right now, I'd be calling Washington and old friend Eric Bieniemy, see what you can get off that defensive line. That's about my only thought. Oh, getting stung here. Will you take this one?
Yeah, well, thank you for the super chat, Raining Tacos. If we have a drop a game, I'm glad it's to an out-of-conference game instead of a conference trophy. Yeah, that's absolutely fair. And again, I feel like we're seeing a lot of people not acknowledging that we are giving the Lions a lot of credit. We are. We've done that pretty much throughout the entire night, I think, giving them credit. Yeah. So, yes, thank you for that.
Appreciate it. And you too, Agent. Appreciate you.
Appreciate it.
Vonstra, very much, to be frank with Tony.
I would imagine so. To be fair.
Yeah. Freak accident pick off his hands. He was shaking up, probably lost confidence. He'll be back. I agree with you, and I'm glad that you have a positive attitude about it.
Yeah.
I hope he has as positive an attitude, to tell you the truth. Pray for Kelsey. Put all the wide receivers on jugs machines and pay Chris. Mike, I'm not going to argue with you on any of those.
Nope. Let's hope you're right.
And thank you for 26 months, Mike. Realized tonight that I'm not going to see Mahomes lead rush. Yeah. The last one that Houston had him in that grapple hole, that made me nervous.
Very nervous. I'm like, just throw the ball, please. Don't let him twist your ankle.
Let's see here. MT, thank you. Agent, thank you. We'll be fine. Great game from the Lions. I'm glad Rice got in on the fun. Let's build towards the playoffs. You have the best attitude that I'm looking to maintain your kind of groove right now, buddy. Very much appreciate you. Katie, thank you for your help.
Thank you, Katie.
Very much appreciate it. There's just a couple here left, folks, and we're going to wrap it up for the night. Jack, welcome. I appreciate you being with us. I think you're going to dig the content that you get. We'll have a rant, I'm sure, in the next couple of days. Justin Ross, 1 for 1. Just saying.
Oh, yeah.
Tigre, I am totally with you. And I said it earlier, the same thing. Hey, when you're perfect, you're perfect. Problem with Taylor is that position shows plays. Yeah, I mean, that's okay, though. There'll be adjustments. He'll make one, too. Appreciate you, Katie. And wrap it up tonight with Teddy Sky only getting 4 targets on 31 routes is a problem for me. I agree. Yeah. I'm not 100% as to why that is, but we're going to find out. So with that, we're going to wrap. The pressers are over. I got to jump over to Locked On Chiefs. You guys have a great night. Dan, I'll talk to you tomorrow. And
absolutely.
Everyone,
and Brazilian just snuck us right in here. Calm down, Kingdom. Wide receivers don't drive passes forever. Yep, you're right about that. It might just be a one week thing, but you're absolutely right. Thank you. Thank you for the super chat.
Yes, thank you. And Chris, thank you. I'm glad you were here. We will be back with you. We'll have content the next couple of days, and we'll be live on Monday night. Have a good one. We'll talk to you later.